thought of you. I'm laughing at the colour, Tommy. Oh, there's so much. I just know by your face you are absolutely miserable. I love it. Yes.
Uh, hello, Donncha.
Yeah, hi, Tommy. How are you doing? So much to discuss.
Oh, I'm delighted to be here for another episode of the Offload.
Okay, there's a few things we need to catch up on, but I can't go. People can't see this. Unfortunately, we're having a bit of difficulty with Spotify and the videos playing. It's nothing to our doing; they just don't play anymore.
You can watch the videos if you really need to, which I
and-
would encourage you maybe do for a look at out the back of you at the minute. My God,
Oh
gorgeous.
yes, we're in Spain. Yeah,
But if you want to see them, we're on YouTube. So
yeah, we're on
please do
YouTube, and the
that
reason
out.
you should go to it is to have a look at Tommy's headset. Tommy, is that Emma's or is that Jamie's? It honestly looks like a Doc McStuffins or a Bluey headset, right? What have you got?
This sums up my week, Donncha. I'm on holidays with the in-laws in Wales. Sun
Wow.
is shining, beautiful.
Where
I
are you in
haven't
Wales?
left the bed. I have not left.
Have you not?
I've been in bits all week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So bring us back. So can we just frame it? You were kind of rubbing it in that you were going to have the best week of your life.
Oh,
You had Oasis on Saturday, is that right?
yeah.
And then
Wimbledon Monday.
on Monday.
Yeah. I had planned to catch up with loads of people over here. To be fair, I love coming over to Wales, catch up with a couple of the old teammates, the Ospreys. So I knew, do you remember, like, only a few weeks ago, or maybe a month or so ago, you sent me that book, like The Art of Saying No?
Yes.
Say no to stuff. Like, would you ever fucking just not do stuff all the time? You sound like my wife.
Yeah.
Anyway, this happens to me like once a year, that eventually that the body just gives in and says, man, you need to just slow down. So I actually think, oh, sorry, I knocked that over. I nearly think that it's like you're going on adrenaline and just keep going and going. And then when you have that week off that you've been so looking forward to, it's like your body knows it.
Yeah.
And it just shuts down. So literally finished Saturday and Thursday, I had something on Thursday afternoon, and Friday was a kind of day off, and I started to get the itchy throat. I was like, oh geez, this isn't a good start.
A few bottles will fix that.
Yeah. Saturday, flying over to Wales, and obviously Oasis on Saturday night. And I literally walked into the house here, and Lucy's mum was like, oh God, you don't look good. She's like, I can smell it off you.
You do. You have this look of when it's not going your way. You know what I mean? You can tell, be it your body language or just even, it's your eyes, man. Your eyes.
My eyes.
Normally they are like Springer Spaniels. Now they're like, honestly, little kind of wet puppies. They're like,
well, this is another thing, and I'll get to this feckin' going to try and get to see a doctor over here. So anyway, Lucy, the kids love it. Cousins are here.
Magic.
Lucy's here, catch up with friends, family, a whole lot, and it's great. And but they kind of say, you need to go and have a little nap, because, you know, if you're going to this concert tonight. So I had a nap, great. Went, listen, Oasis, man, oh my God, how lucky to get those tickets.
Yeah, incredible.
Do you know, I actually applied for these tickets. I was like 70,000th in the queue, got kicked out because they told me I was a bot. I was
Dynamic
so
pricing. You got back in, it was worth
honestly,
$2,000.
But a friend of a friend managed to get 2 tickets for Oasis, and he couldn't go. Whatever happened with the dates, he wasn't able to go. And through him, through word of mouth that I was going to be in Wales, he asked, like, would you want these tickets? I was like, I will bite your hand off those.
Yeah.
So went along to Oasis. My sister was there with her husband. I met JT, Jonathan Thomas.
Oh, what a man.
Former teammate here at the Osprey as well. 2 of us went and enjoyed. Like, it was unbelievable. Honestly, like, what a concert. Old school, like Millennium Stadium, the roof closed, like the sound in there just doesn't get any, and it was just back-to-back banger. Richard Ashcroft from The Verve before, like Sonnet, Lucky Man, Drugs Don't Work, oh man, it was so good.
So you're telling anyone that's going in Croke Park, it's going to be amazing.
Honestly, it's so good.
Wow.
It's just like, and someone said, oh, it just sounds like a drunken, like, stag do. But that's what it is. You're just like, they just need to start the song, and like, but like Liam Gallagher, oh man, he's so cool.
Stage presence.
And like, do you know what? They just don't give a fuck. Like, do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, do you know, you see Taylor Swift and all these ones have their big platforms that come right up the middle of the pitch and they come all the way down and say hello to them. Oh, it's like, sack that. The stage is here. I ain't fucking moving. And they
Cram
just,
more of them in.
honestly, they don't give
But
a shit. But
I
it,
suppose
it,
everyone always looks at that kind of brotherly rivalry. Was there any bit of that, or did it appear like
it's
they were
awkward.
tight?
It's
Is it
awkward.
awkward?
Oh, it's
Look at
awkward.
you. You've been hanging around doing Ireland AM too
No, it
much,
is. Like
trying to read into body language.
they kind of half walk out together, right? And then they do not look at each other, talk to each other the whole way through. And it's actually, do you know what it is, right? Liam has this stage presence. Like, and a lot of people, I actually heard this from somebody was saying that Noel, like somebody who does driving for these guys, and has picked them
I
up.
love these. I love these stories. Friend of mine, right? He's the
He's a
driver for
driver.
Noel Gallagher, right? He says you mad Liam's a right pain in the arse.
Well, it's actually the other way around. They say Liam is as mad as a box, like he's
Yeah, frogs,
mad.
yeah. Yeah.
But a box of frogs, yeah, the brain's not working a minute. But he said Liam is mental, but a lovely bloke. Will leave a big tip, will do anything for you. Where Noel just comes in, has the sunglasses on, doesn't talk to you. Like
Yeah.
Noel's the genius with all the money, who's
And
written all
all
the
the
songs.
writing ability, isn't it? Like he wrote
Big
all the
time.
songs, but your man's the performer,
But
isn't he?
he's the performer, Donncha. This is what makes Oasis special.
Yeah.
Like he's able to sing the full Oasis catalog, and when he is on stage, there, man, when he comes on and he's singing, it's just like whoa. And then you
Yeah.
see Noel in the background, it shows him and the guitar, and it's almost like he's resentful of him. But anyway, listen, it's an amazing concert. But anyway, by the end of it, my voice, like I tried the whole way through not to sing because I knew it wasn't
Of
well.
course.
But by the end, I was bollocksed. I was
Yeah.
bollocksed.
But what happens to you, Tommy, is what happens. Oh, like I think there'll be a lot of people that listen that are quite similar. You're busy and you work to a point, and then it just all falls down. And unfortunately for you, it's on your away time, your holiday, your family time. But like you're definitely a fella that needs to get better at saying no to different things, and
We
you
just
know it, which is a good laugh.
I know it, and everyone tells me, and I
Yeah.
know, but I just like to be busy, you know, and I just, but
There's
it can't.
busy and there's Tommy Bowe busy, man.
But this, it
And there,
just,
how are you managing that? That is in a different country, and you think you're going to get there in 40 minutes?
I know. And I'm going to the Lions next week.
Well, where are you stopping on the way?
So anyway, I was came home from Oasis. Gone. I was
Yeah.
done.
Time of death.
Throat
Call
was
it
in
no.
bits.
We're
I
losing
was
him.
just
Clear.
Nino next morning. Tried to get to see a doctor. No chance. You're not an NHS patient over here. Da da da. Impossible.
Whoa.
Went. Mother-in-law, to be fair, has been a saint. She's been trying to book me in with pharmacists, doctors, everything else. Eventually went to see a pharmacist who can prescribe, and he looked at me, goes, "You don't look that bad, to be honest with you." And he goes, "I remember I had a sore throat once, and 3 days in, I had a cigar, and that probably didn't help."
He gave me a packet of like soothers. Get a few of those into you, be grand. Here's a lollipop.
This was on the Monday, right? And I was at this stage, I'd woken up Monday morning, so I had tickets to go to Centre Court to see Wimbledon as well.
Yeah.
And I was like adamant, I'm going to Wimbledon. Like
Yes,
I
of course,
have to go to Wimbledon. Do you know what I mean? It was one of these things you can't turn down. Got the tickets on the ballot, couldn't believe it.
Oh wow.
Sinner was playing, Djokovic was playing.
Oh,
I think
what a day.
Oh, honestly, it was going to be a cracker. So anyway, Lucy pretty much says, just put the foot down. Said you're not going.
Brilliant. Lucy's there. You're not going. I'm going with my sister.
No, but like this is my other problem. I can't say no. Do you know, I can't. I couldn't. I knew I shouldn't go, and I shouldn't be going. Anyway, so I didn't say. I eventually she just told me you ain't going, right? So eventually then went to see this pharmacist. He said you don't even look that bad anyway, and I was like I am not going to.
You should have given
Wimbledon.
well, you're not even a doctor.
The next morning then got to see the doctor, ended up getting antibiotics, and thankfully day 3 I am now after the antibiotics and starting to feel a bit better. So
Tommy, why didn't you call in the old Welsh card? Surely the old Swansea doctor or anyone that would have treated you in the past, or the connection's gone.
To be fair, I was contacting a lot of people. No one was really wanting to help me, man.
Do you remember?
Ah,
Do you remember Paulie got a doctorate from UL?
yeah.
All the lads were wondering could he write scripts for anti-inflammatories? They were
Here, I'll
like,
tell you
"Does
what.
that give you power now?"
I have a doctorate.
You do have a doctorate. Couldn't you have used
I
that to
should.
get something for yourself?
Dr. Bowe here.
You should have gone in as a fellow
Oh,
doctor myself. Can I get some antibiotics for the sore throat? A little sorry throat.
a little sore throat. Oh,
There's nothing worse though,
there's nothing
because
worse.
I can tell you, we're bad patients, but also we have zero time for what you need in terms of recovery and just, you know what I mean. Everyone there that's telling you just rest up is right, isn't it?
Do you get run down? Like, do you like?
Yeah.
Have you got a good? Do you have a good balance? Like, I'm desperate for it.
I
I know I need to
yeah.
get better. I just
No,
don't
but
know how.
you're in the most difficult thing, man. And honestly, doing that breakfast stuff, no one gives that any credit. That's why I genuflect anytime someone mentions Ian Dempsey, one of our greatest broadcasters in Ireland. Like
How
that
does
guy,
he do it?
he's doing it 30 years, Tommy.
I know, but how does he do it?
Yeah,
Like, how?
I think
You know,
he's a
he's
fan of
up
a
at what,
massive
three,
nap.
four? Oh, is he?
He goes, this is what I've heard, that he goes home and climbs into the cot. We got to get him on. We got to, Ian
And
Dempsey,
what's
save us.
because I heard that he tries to say no. He literally just doesn't do anything else. It's just the
Yeah,
morning show.
possibly not. Yeah, yeah.
And to be fair, Alan Hughes as well, who's doing it 25 years. He loves a nap during the day as well.
Yeah.
But see, at the weekends, like he'd sleep till 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
No way.
I could only dream of that. The kids tell them
Jamie jumping on your head.
Anyway, listen, how are you? What's the crack? How's your trip going? We should
Yeah,
talk rugby. Obviously, there's a lot of Lions
we
going
should
on, but to be
talk
fair, I'm a bit
rugby. Yeah.
bored of the Lions already. So,
Is that the general essence of the Lions at the moment? Oh,
is it ever going to end?
thank God it's only every 4 years. We went from all this kind of, isn't this is the pinnacle of our sport, to honestly, I had to convince my family to hang around and watch the second half the other day. It was,
It's like, he's already dead. Just
oh, yeah, genuinely, it has a feeling that off it, doesn't it? Obviously, the game against the Brumbies on Tuesday probably didn't go as well. Again, another slow start, loads of errors and stuff like that, which we thought was going to be the test team pretty much. And you look at selection now at the moment, it looks like it could be that. But do you know what I think it's badly missing, Tommy, for me? I think they're all unbelievable players. I think they're all really sound. But I think you need, call it pricks or alpha males. I think you need the kind of Johnny Sextons, the Owen Farrells, and I mean in their boots, the Paul O'Connells.
yeah.
Like I remember in that tour in 09, Paulie at that point, under working with Gert Small, had become anal about when you won a line out in training, throwing it, delivering it correctly. So we'd only count the line out, because normally we used to just throw the ball back to the hooker and just try to get reps.
Oh, yeah.
But under Gert, it became the lineup wasn't over until it hit first pair of back's hands. So
Well
let's
done.
work.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So, but then Paulie became a massive driver for us in the standards of it and making sure it was right. But I remember on a Lions tour in 09, and I delivered and I threw back to the hooker. And I remember David
Oh.
Wallace clipping me over it, being like, what's your problem, man? And getting really odd about it. Because he knew that, you know what I mean? Paul's trying to drive the standards with everyone else. And if
Yeah.
he's the mark also, we're in trouble. And
Yeah.
I think everyone's nearly afraid to be a bit of a dickhead, if you know what I mean. Not even afraid to kind of go, what are you, you know what I mean? Don't put that ball on my inside shoulder.
Like,
You know?
stop fucking throwing the ball away.
Yeah.
Do you mean,
But
like, the errors, man? Some of the errors are just like, and it's playing into the Irish team, the Irish players' hands massively. Like,
It
the
is.
one thing I remember with the Lions now, and listen, of course, the times change, coaches change, whatever else. The Lions' game plan with Gats and with McGeechan was so simple. It was the
So,
Welsh game plan.
let's
Hit
just
it up.
tell people what it was.
So
So talk them through it.
literally line out, hit big Jamie Roberts or
Yeah.
somebody, get you boom right over the gain line. Then if it was kind of just around the 15-meter line, like the 9 would give it, or if it was if it was kind of close to where the posts are, so if you lined it up from where the posts are, it would be 9 straight to the forwards. If it was
Yeah,
a little bit closer to the touchline, it would be 9 to the 10 to the forwards. Like,
yeah.
it's just really basic, but it was a case of just outwork and work around the corner, work around the corner. But everybody, you didn't have to be any sort of a scientist. You didn't have to be any way clever or whatever else. You just knew where you had to be. It was just and I just think this game plan that the Lions are trying to play now is the Irish game plan, which is unbelievably effective. But you can see how difficult it is. You can see how it's taken years for Ireland to establish it because the other teams just can't get a grip of it.
It makes me sad though. It makes me really sad to think at Lions level that they can't get a grip of it. Because I would think you should be able to remit that room, that you could go in at half time and say, the way they're looking here, lads, we're playing wide. Or you know what I mean? That you could hand them any remit and they should be skill execution enough
Yeah.
to be able to do it. You're right about that Welsh game plan. I remember for me it was real simple. Inside the first post, cog around the corner. Further out than that, start to pick up the 10 and he'll tell me what to do. So the 10 will either tell me, hit into the far end. So I only had, coming away from every line out, I only had 2 things to do. Look up, see if it was in a midfield hit. If it was, cog. If it wasn't, pick up 10, where do you want me? And like, it'd be 2 jobs. Whereas now, with this system they're playing, everyone has to kind of pull weight and pull shape. And I don't think that should be a lot to ask the top end athletes.
No, it shouldn't, Donncha, but if it's completely alien to what you've done for club or country, and
Yeah.
listen, I'm agree with you. I'm like, flip, surely they've, like, this is, like, we keep talking about being the top of the top, but it's not from what you're seeing. You
No,
know,
it's
that
not.
they get,
It's a very,
like, that try by James Lowe in the corner, the one that he got, was class. But that was
yeah,
Finn Russell to Conan to Sheehan to Ringrose to It was all the Irish team.
yeah,
Like, it just, I'm just not seeing the cohesion with a lot of the other players. And then you have the issues of the breakdown. The breakdown is another area.
the
Like,
breakdown's a right mess.
set piece 9-10 look good. Um, Ringrose, to be fair, and Bundy, I thought, did themselves no harm this weekend as well. Jack Conan carried well, but I just think the back row, I just don't know. The back row is my one area that I'm actually really interested to see where he's going to go with for a first test,
Yeah,
because
I
it's the one
agree.
place I don't think's nailed down yet.
No, agreed. And I think he's probably trying to solve 2 problems, right? He's trying to fix the line out by having a jumping second row in there
Yeah,
within the back row and give him another option. But this annoys me. Like, if you're at Lions level, everyone should be able to jump. Like, I
yeah,
remember going back, I know this sounds terrible, but I remember Dennis Leamy coming into the Munster squad first time and he got given out to for not taping up his legs coming out to
right,
training. We were there like, how
right.
you expect? And he was there, oh, I don't jump. He'd gone to under 20s level without being. He's there. I'm a back
Never,
lifter,
never
and
learned, right?
and we were like, you are in our arse. Everyone's a jumping option. So like, get taped up, and like I know at the start he was like honestly like a floppy fish, but over time he got better at it, and
Yeah.
it was to have the option. You mightn't want him all the time, but at least 1 or 2 lineouts he could get you out of a hole if you needed him. But now I see so many of the back rows not even taped up to jump anymore, and they're like, what has happened to the execution of a jumping back row? It's like
T-
we've gone for all
Totally.
these kind of breakdown hogs, and then it leads to your point. The breakdown's been a mess. The breakdown has been like I've never seen anything like it for you know what I mean, a unique team. You think I just and the big one that's annoying me, Tommy, is the groundwork of the ball carrier. It
Yeah.
looks so sloppy. I'm there like, and like we've been drilled by Joe Schmidt. Like, what do we call that? He the name for the
The
ball carrier.
fish, the fish at the bottom of the barrel. You're like hopping on the bottom of the barrel to
Yes.
get yourself, and like, literally, if you lost a ruck in that area, and because the cleaners weren't over, like, it's easy to blame. Oh well, he didn't clean out
Yeah.
over when it goes. It's not on the cleaners. If you've worked hard enough and fought hard enough to get yourself to vertical to almost get that
Yeah.
ball delivered back, it's impossible for the opposition to get there.
I
And
think
with
he'd have.
the Australian 7, your man
Oh,
McWright, like,
yeah.
he is. like Joe in a way must be licking his lips with this breakdown. And I like, do you think this weekend, Jack Morgan, he's starting 7?
Mm.
I think like because I'm interested to see he's been picked at 7 instead of Van der Fleer.
Yeah.
And I don't think was a Curry went at the weekend. I don't think Curry was
No,
a
unfortunately.
fantastic player, but I
Yeah.
think that he's been kind of number 2 on a couple of the occasions. And
Agree.
I think actually this weekend for Jack Morgan, this is his opportunity to establish that number 7 line starting
I
spot.
think so. I agree with you. I think it's a shootout between himself and Van der Fleer, and
Yeah,
that's the area they've got to fix.
yeah,
They've got to go back to old school kind of Josh Confelt type performance. You know what I mean? That you're like, oh my God, is there 4 of them out there? And I think that's something Morgan can do, and he's done it for Wales quite well. Nearly lose himself to the work. If he, I don't think everyone will chat about him having a great performance, but his pack would be all about him for what he in the vein of like a Richard Hill. You know what I mean? Someone that gets lost to the endeavor for everyone else. I
well,
think he can do that.
just take the breakdown out of it.
Yeah.
Just if no one's talking about the breakdown, he's done his job.
100% it. I think that the line that Joe had about it was the 60% man. I think he had a theory that the ball carrier was determined for 60% of the ruck being won by how he presents. And right now, like Jack Morgan can't control that. But
No,
I'd love him to lift someone that didn't present correctly. This is
yeah,
what, like I'm seeing fellas get, we're seeing Lions players belly up. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
if
yeah.
you saw a school player belly up, you'd be like, what the you know what I mean? Like, I think it's lacking that bit of, they're all lovely lads, but it's lacking, and I can see why you brought in Owen Farrell. It needs a bit of killer. It
He
needs
needs the
genuinely,
standards lifted. You can
yeah,
see Farrell anytime it goes to Farrell in the coach's box. He's seething, man.
yeah, yeah.
And he's not giving any of it away in any of the post match interviews, but I think he's fuming. Yeah, it's hard to warm to. I don't know what's going on at the minute. It's just they needed a big performance. I think on Wednesday or Tuesday, whatever day it
But
bloody was.
but Tommy, another thing I'm hearing an awful lot of is they're a little bit tired and they're a bit leggy and they're not used to the kind of, because it's also professional now touring where you play Wednesday, Saturday. That is quite tough. But they've already knocked a game off for them compared to old tours. And if you look at some of the tours, like New Zealand, like that time the win against Christchurch, against the Crusaders, when they
Yeah,
loaded that team with All Blacks,
yeah.
they've been more daunting games. Even go to South Africa where you have to navigate altitude.
Oh
Like,
man, honestly, yeah,
this isn't a bad tour. Like, I just feel for these lads a little bit that it's high time they grab this by the balls. Like, you know what I mean? Genuinely, Andy will take the blame for you lads. You know what I mean? When it all goes, belly up, Farrell will take the blame, but genuinely for that skill set of players to hide behind the fact that they can't execute at the top level, I think has been really disappointing. And I was hoping it would build that love for the Lions again after the South Africa tour. I must say we the Brumbies match on, and all our kids started walking out in terms of looking for different things to do. And you're right. If the tennis was on, they would love to watch it.
well,
Whereas,
it's lucky it's 11 o'clock. No other sport started at that stage yet.
but the thing is,
Um,
like we watched the hurling, and they were like, even though Cork had that one, they loved the ruthless edge of Cork keeping going for more points. You know what I mean? And that,
yeah.
it's just been awful.
I'm conscious, people listening here, that we've just sapped me by being sick and about the Lions. So, right, I said to you, I looked at this Anzac team.
Yeah,
Man, I think this is going to be a hell of a match. Like, this is going to be a
yeah.
proper challenge for this team.
Well,
You weren't quite seeing it. But, like, if you look at your man, their back row, Jesus, Shan Frizzell, I mean, he's a former All
yeah,
Black, he plays over in Japan now, but was just playing for the Barbarians against South Africa. You have your man Samu, who plays for Bordeaux at 7, and you have Satutu then as well, another Kiwi in the back row too, like he plays for the Blues.
yeah.
Then Fakatava at 9, rocket. Then your man Edmund, who played for the Reds, who I thought was pretty impressive for the Reds. Then Corabetti, Havili, Lamampe, Laumpe, Lamb and
He's from
Stevenson.
Monaghan, is he? You're tight with him. Yeah.
Laumpe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, he's a feckin' hell of a player. Like,
But
I think that this is going to be a hell of a test match, and they're going to be wheels off or shackles off, ripping in.
well, that's what Les Kiss, when we were chatting to him in the dressing room, he told
Yeah.
us that. He's there, I'm
Oh,
going to give them a rough framework to keep them, you know what I mean, in structure, but then I'm going to liberate them and leave them play. If you haven't heard that dressing room, it's well worth a listen back to Les Kiss in the dressing room.
really
I think
good.
it's two weeks ago now. But yeah, and as well, Tommy, you know it as well. The tour comes to a critical point now, because the team that was named for the Lions, if they start to feel like they're out of test contention and kind of nearly check off a little bit or go off tour, or you know what I mean, start to look out for themselves a little bit, this could be a right banana
Well,
skin before test one.
who do you think, right? So who do you think is still in the running for it? Because
I
go on.
think you're right. I think that back row spot, that 7, I see Josh and Morgan fighting that out.
Yeah.
I
But
also
like,
think
interesting that Josh was on the bench again during the week. Might have been too much to ask him to front up and start this weekend. But I would say for him, he would want to start.
yeah,
Where if
agreed.
Jack pulls out a hell of a 60 minutes here,
Yeah,
like,
and you
put
know
my
what?
hand up.
We've chatted about it as well. There's something beautiful about being taken off before test
Yeah.
1. You're there, like, you know what I mean? The old waves. There you go.
Sorry, Nathan Hines. You're back on it.
We told the story before where I got wrongly subbed off and had to run back on with my tail between my legs.
I am so sorry
I'm
about
so,
that.
so. There's one that I do think, though. I do think Chasm went well at 6, but I do think that what I think he is that kind of second row. He's more of a 5.5 for me. And I wonder, does Tyke Burns still have an opportunity with a big performance?
But
You're
he's
not
not
having that?
starting there. I do think he would have, but he's not given the opportunity.
I think if he has one of those Tyke Burn games where he robs an awful lot of ball, where he
Yeah.
is a nuisance at
He
the
needs
breakdown,
it.
he does. He certainly does. And then I suppose, where else? The centres. Do you see that kind of Scottish? Like, I think Gary is pretty much nailed on ring rows.
Yeah, I think, to be fair, the two boys, like Bundy and Gary, I thought Gary had a super game. Bundy just looks so good with ball in hand. And I think you can just see the relationship with Ringrose and Finn Russell is starting to mend really nicely there. Now, if Tupelotu and Jones have a good game in the centre, you know, they've every opportunity to get themselves into that first team. My other part is the back three.
Yeah.
I kind of think James Lowe would probably be the one Irish player I didn't think had a fantastic game. He was trying to get really involved, but just a few things didn't go his way.
The not finishing in the corner,
I
Tommy.
know,
Oh,
so
like,
odd.
it was really odd. Tell us there, just as a winger, like, you're just claiming the floor, no?
I just don't understand why both times he had the try line right there and he didn't just dive in and put the ball down. He was kind of diving, cradling the ball for some reason.
Yeah.
Both times he kind of went down on his knees and put it down.
Yeah,
Like, it would make you think it's a bit of out of confidence or something that they're trying to talk about, because he did it twice. Second time he got the ball down. First time, to be fair, I thought he was so confident the ball was down. Like, I actually thought it was harsh that they didn't give it. I mean, how big are your man's calves that they were holding that up, really?
I know, but still,
But
I think
should
if he'd
have
slid in there,
finish it. Yeah, just the ball.
Finish.
The line is there. Just put the
Yeah.
ball down.
It's an area that you don't get any credit for. But I remember actually Jordan Murphy working on it, finishing.
I remember in the Lions they made us do it. Sean Edwards took all the back three to all the wingers and fullbacks to the side and worked us hard, like diving into the corner, scoring with one arm. Like, to be fair, it was good crack at the start, but when it was on to the 20th and 30th, I was like starting to graze my knees and stuff. I was a bit fed up.
Brilliant.
And
So yeah,
Sean, my elbows really sore here, Sean, from sliding.
You were
Has
coming
anybody
down
got
the
any
next
knee
day.
pads? Any
Yeah,
knee pads?
Tommy, with those headphones and a skateboard, knee pads and elbow pads, you would look. Sean Edwards would love you.
Hugo Keenan, I think, is a big opportunity. Obviously, Blair Kinghorn has been kept on. Jamie
Yeah,
Osborne's been brought out. That's quite
Jamie Osborne.
interesting. Yeah,
You have to be
interesting.
thrilled for.
I know, but this is feeding into this. Andy's going to have to go majorly Irish in the squad
100%.
selections. And if they don't win, oh my God, the English, Welsh, and Scottish media are going to come for them.
Yeah,
Because, you could have brought out the Welsh fullback Blair Murray. You could have brought out
yeah.
Freddie Stewart. There's a
From
lot of players
Jordan.
who might have thought that they had a good opportunity there. Jamie Osborne doesn't even start for Ireland. And he's been brought out.
Do you know the one I was thinking of in classic Andy Farrell bringing out Owen Farrell in the last change? I was thinking, here we go, Courtney Laws is going to be called out.
I mean, why not?
Why
Donncha,
not?
you could be brought out at this stage.
No chance. But I actually
You're
think
enjoying
Courtney
yourselves on
Laws.
holiday too much. Andy, I'm sorry, mate. The sun is shining here. Have you seen how miserable it is in Australia?
And no chance. You're trying to play tip-ons. I'm carrying. If you go back to that Welsh around the corner pattern, I'll play.
Where's this cog pattern going? Where am I meant to cog?
Give me two
Cog,
jobs.
by the
bro.
way, it means keep on going.
Yeah,
there you go.
sorry. Yeah, keep on going. And you'd say to your front five forwards, you would give them the remit of hit midfield, cog, or else then there's different calls for different things. Like 21 pattern is two one way, hit the reverse side. I always like the
It's
21.
so simple. Cheers. It's cog, keep on going. 21. Can you read what this Lions team wouldn't do for a bit of 21 and a bit of cog?
Even better than 21 was 11. Hit one way, come back the other. Oh, God. But it's driving me nuts because the media are jumping on it now. The media are there. Can we stop this? Because I think Maro gave him the phrase and they're going to use it as a stick to beat him with. Maro said after Argentina, it was a bit tippy-tappy. So all the media rats jumped on with the Irish tippy-tappy way of playing. Like, if you can't get international players at Lions level to be able to play that kind of box shape, a diamond formation, forget about it. Although I must say, I remember under Eddie O'Sullivan, when we were playing that type of a shape, I remember he was really clear with certain players. So he was there, Dennis Leamy, David Wallace, Stephen Ferris, you can play it all if you're into F1, first forward. If you're the first receiver, you can tip on F1. There's another one. What did we call the first forward? F1. What did we call the guy on his inside shoulder? Minus. What did we call the guy outside him? Plus. I mean, really, it's so simple when you think of it. But I remember Eddie, he went around and he was our Dunners. If you're in F1, carry. And I was there, I'm sure I could make the tip-on pass. He was there, are you hearing me? You are F1, carry. I was like, but Dennis Leamy is allowed to play the Nike play. The Nike play was where
It was a tick. You're a tick.
It was a tick. It was basically where the plus ran over the F1 and he got it out the back. So it looked like a swoosh.
Oh, so funny.
God.
So
Hard
what
times.
this Lions team wouldn't do for a bit of Nike, a bit of F1s, a plus and minus. Go on. So well, the back three. I think Hugo Keenan, big opportunity. I think Mark Hansen up against what's it, Freeman.
Yeah.
Freeman's full of energy, but not going his way. I don't think. I think he still probably will get the starting spot, but I think Mark Hansen has an opportunity if he goes well. I think James Lowe, to be fair, wasn't his strongest performance probably, but I still think he's that stretch ahead of Van der Merwe at the minute on the left wing.
Well, do you know what he gives you as well? That exit. Did you see that one in the 22 where there was no angle on that left foot peg and he booted it? You're there like, if you're a front five forward there, you're like, oh, lovely, good on you. Thank you so much. Yeah. But
what's your front row?
Oh, I think it was pretty much what went out the last time. Dan Sheehan, to be fair, is the standout player for me. I'm looking for a moment of this Lions tour, and the only thing I can go back to is his handoff. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
my God.
For me, I think Porter has an opportunity when he gets on to maybe put Genge under pressure, but I think Ellis Genge has made it his own, and I think unfortunately Porter's going to have to wait, and so I'm going Genge, Dan Sheehan, and Furlong. For me,
Okay.
I think
And
that we were talking about a bit of a lieutenant that could give guys in a nice way. Like Ty's got a good way about him without being absolutely in your ear, but I think he's got
big
a good
time.
manner of kind of going, listen, that's not acceptable.
I think he was class.
Yeah.
And one last one then. Are you surprised Owen Farrell isn't starting?
Yeah, good
I thought he
question.
would have got a good opportunity. I thought this would have been a chance to put him in there
Where
and
would you put him
potentially
in
put him on
instead
the
of?
bench. Put him
Oh
on the
yeah,
bench
would
for
you
the
put him
first
in instead of
test.
Finn Smith?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
Where does he come on, Tommy? If barring injuries, is it worth giving him a bit of time at 15? Like, I think it's a shootout between Owen Farrell and Marcus Smith for subbing. I don't know will they go 5-3 or 6-2, but either way, it becomes interesting between the two of them.
I just don't think you can bring Owen Farrell into the squad for the first test if he doesn't get that start, that game time. He hasn't played enough rugby.
You start him in the back three with Osborne, why not? And Courtney Law's on the other wing.
Listen, who knows these days?
Who
Who bloody
knows? Who
knows?
knows anymore?
But I did think that he might have started, but
Yeah.
yeah, not to worry. Here, will we move on to other rugby this weekend, because we do actually have an interview which we should have said
Yes.
that we caught up with during the week.
Yeah,
Simon Mannix,
Mannix. Yeah, looking forward
who's
to
of
it.
course the Portugal head coach, former Munster coach. Interesting to hear his time, speaking about his time back at Munster as well, which is
Yeah.
really interesting. So you're going to want to listen to that. So we'll rush through some of the other games this weekend. Maybe you should just mention the Irish under-20s. They're having a bit of a shock, aren't they?
Oh, I watched it yesterday against New Zealand. What a great start, like. And honestly, Oisin Minogue, did you see he's trying the corner? He basically crossfield kick, and he basically kind of solos it on his left boot over the winger to finish. Went 12-0 up, and that's where it ended. Genie. Just small little things, confident moments. Like, this sounds nuts, Tommy, but reclaiming a kickoff when you're 12 points up and just keeping the pressure on, all of a sudden 17-12 or 7-12, you know what I mean? New Zealand kind of going, okay, we played poorly, but it was a really poor performance by the Irish under-20s again.
Poor. And lost to Italy just before that as well. That's losing to Italy twice this season. Now, Italy at underage at the minute are actually really hot, so it's not a huge one. But listen, they'd be disappointed with that. They're obviously going to be playing against Georgia next. And feel for those lads at the minute.
Just because before you do it, just because you're on the ground there, what was the take in Wales, the Japan loss? You know what I mean?
I haven't left the room.
Well, it's no harm.
Bar talking Oasis, no one was too bothered about the Welsh lot.
Well, I'm kind of glad they are. I was there. The Welsh can't catch a break at the moment. Between Love Island and your poor Emily getting recoupled out of it, the poor Welsh girl, and now the Welsh team going to 18 losses. I was there. Is there anything good happening in Wales at the moment?
Actually, funny you say it. I got on the train to go into Cardiff. Because Cardiff is the best place for a concert, honestly. Stadium right in the middle of the city, roof is closed, pubs, places packed, and trains in and out. So handy.
And a lovely way about them. You know what I mean? They're all there for you to have fun.
It's wild, honestly, some crack. But this fella sat down beside me, and I was feeling sorry for myself, and he comes up and goes, "All right, bud, Welsh shite, aren't they?" That's my Welsh accent. And I was like, oh, geez, it wasn't great today and all. He goes, I don't know, it's going to get worse. I mean, honestly, it is. To lose to Japan.
The genuine thing, Tommy, I watched it, and what I felt was they're after, the way winning is a habit, losing is a habit now as well. And that's, like, if you look at that Japan team, right, only, what's his name, Michael Leach, isn't it, that's the skipper? Yeah. Only he has over 30 caps. They're in a rebuild as well. And I know the weather conditions and stuff like that, but it's like as if Wales find a way to lose now at the moment. And I don't think it's going to change until, to be fair, I actually put the pressure on their union. How they haven't made an appointment of a head coach yet is bananas. You know what I mean? Like, show direction, show the leadership there. I know you've lots going on between the clubs and stuff like that, but you need a boss. Those players need, and Sherrard coming in from Cardiff, he'll do his best. He 100% is, but he knows, and the players know that he's not going to be there and secure their future. So it
Totally.
leaves this void. I just think the Welsh Union need to, like everyone's saying, when's it going to end? But it's not going to end until you grab the nettle and say
Yeah,
it
but
stops now.
what head coach wants that job?
I'd say that'd be a lie.
Do you
I
think so?
genuinely would. No one loves rugby more, man. No one's
I
more
know, but
important.
there's more expectation, and people probably are looking at the
Well,
conveyor belt going, my God, playing
But
Six
the-
Nations.
But does it need someone to come in and go, okay, you need to go down to 2 clubs? You know what I mean? Not being harsh, but the Dragons last year, did they win 2 games, was it? I think it was. They definitely finished bottom of the log
Yeah.
in terms of the Welsh teams.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're teaching how to lose. You know what I mean? And if you split up that pool a little bit, do you have more? Look, they're the ones that won't go now. It's most likely going to be the Ospreys or Claretti, which is
Well, that's
crazy.
madness.
Oh.
We'll talk about that another day.
Yeah,
let's
okay.
talk about Ireland, Portugal, Ireland, Georgia at the weekend. Big win for them. Fair
Yeah,
play. That's
super.
amazing.
A great
Hugh
start
Gavin is now going to start in for Osborne. Obviously, he's been called into the Lions. Calvin Nash has been brought onto the bench.
Jack Crowley gets a start and
Jack
Foley on the
Crowley
bench.
gets a start. Finally, they listen to you.
I did listen to the whole of Munster. Yeah. But interesting, because you would question with Sam staying on so long the last day, you kind of thought, you know what I mean, what's going on here? But I must say, I was impressed the last day. That was a banana skin. Like, Tommy, we played against Georgia, man. That is a tough game. No one gives that one any credit.
No.
And to get over the line, playing there
Jeez,
in
they
those
played very well, to win that
in
so
those
convincingly
conditions as well. Yeah, well done. Well
I
done.
thought it was a huge one. And we're going to hear from the Portugal head coach, Simon Mannix, in just a minute as well, who they got to train against the Lions, and I couldn't believe he was having to explain to them who the Lions are.
Yeah,
so this is what Ireland is up against this weekend.
yeah, mad.
Good
mad.
luck, lads.
But it was interesting as well. You'll enjoy this interview with him just making the point about it being played in Lisbon when if it was played down in the Algarve, you might have got a bigger crowd with the amount of Irish around the place at the moment.
They didn't know you had to hire out a stadium.
Well, yeah.
The New Zealand-France game is going to be another cracker, isn't it?
Genie, they underestimated them a little bit, didn't they? That was a great game. The only thing, Tommy, that came from it, though, that drove me crazy that last weekend, hopefully we don't see it, a repeat of the TMOs stepping in to pull back stuff. Just
piss me off, man. It's a
go
joke.
away, TMOs. You know what I mean? Like the double banking on the lift. If the ref didn't see it, you know what I mean? It's basically, you know what it's like? It's like your little sister ratting you up. You know what I mean?
It's wrecking my head at the minute, the TMO.
yeah.
Really, it's too much.
Yeah.
Was it in the Australia game? Australia-Fiji. Fiji had a try, pulled back because an Australian player had a foot in touch.
Crazy.
I was like, are you having a laugh?
You wouldn't mind. That was like at least. So I think something needs to be because to be fair, Nigel Owen said it to us in the act of scoring the try.
Totally.
That's the only place we need it.
Rugby is about imperfection. Like, it can't be perfect all the time. There's too many rules, too many, like, if, buts, and maybes. In the act of scoring, that's it. How many tries were chalked off? What game was it we were talking about? Like, 2 or 3 tries from the Lions matches called off. I was like, it's just making it hard for people who aren't rugby supporters to watch.
But then look at
the same as Wimbledon, mind you. They're having a bit of trouble with AI and theirs.
I know,
so hopefully AI doesn't come in.
Yeah, but look at the amateur side of it. Look at Kilkenny and Tipperary. There was a problem with the scoreboard in Croke Park, and they feel the Kilkenny lads might have thought they needed a goal when all they needed was 2 points.
Oh wow! Yes, I did see that.
Not a murmur from Kilkenny. You know what I mean? No bitching, no whinging. We weren't good enough. We didn't get it done. And I think you'll find that in rugby as well. I think we're just all jumping into this, like you say, looking for perfection every time. Whereas I think genuinely, I know, like that John O'Neill try against Stade Francais probably led to the use of TMOs. But none of us bitched after the match. Do you remember John O'Neill scored a try against Stade in the corner?
Who?
You're a clown. You're a clown. You know nothing about
When was
rugby.
this?
Come back on, put on your bucket hat and head out to fucking Oasis with your stupid
I'm a
headphones.
rock and roll star. And it's so
My-
good.
Yeah, my point is TMOs go away. Do you know what I think they should do? And you're in the world of it. They should get somebody from TV or radio or someone in entertainment to produce the TMOs. So when the TMO goes to press his red button, the producer from TV goes, get your finger away from that. This looks really good on TV. Let it play.
Do you know what? I have a solution, right? Scrap TMO. Who cares?
Yeah. I agree.
But I think we have 2 referees on the pitch, one
No.
for each half.
I-
So because they're all giving out, oh, it's too much, it would be too wrecked, whatever else. But if you had a referee in each half, they control this half, the other one controls the other.
I'm
Fine.
going the other way. I think you should have
Less
3.
referees, no referees.
No, you know the way they changed their names from touch judges to assistant referees, and you saw them do less. What does a touch judge do anymore? An assistant referees. I think you're right. I think they should come on the field of play. I think the touch judge should bring the defensive line back 10 and watch one side for offside around the breakdown, while the other one keeps an eye on the other one. You know what I mean? I think they need to start working in a tree. But I would get someone in. I'd get someone in from the NFL to kind of go, look how we have something that's really great and we're making a dog's dinner of
it. Right, okay, loads of rugby coming up this weekend. The Cheetahs
we can be tough on England, but that was a brilliant win against Argentina, wasn't it?
Big win for them.
They were ruthless.
Very impressive. Yeah, well done. Well done.
George
Ford again.
Yeah,
I feel
really
sorry
good
for him. 100 caps for England and never got to tour with the Lions.
But then look what was ahead of him, to be fair.
Well, Owen Farrell's on his 4th.
Yeah, but
It's tough going that, like, isn't it?
It is tough, but then did you see even, I like that, did you see on social media him chatting about the 2 reasons he plays: to represent and look after his family and to win respect. And that was deadly, man. You could see why you'd want to play for him.
He seems like a good lad. I actually saw another interview with him with Sale, and they mentioned about the Lions, and he talked about what a dream it would be.
Yeah,
I mean, and like
but
the
then
CEO and being
then
brought
again,
in.
it's tough. It should be tough, unless you're Jamie Osborne. Nice one, Osborne. Good on him.
Fiji play against Scotland, Japan against Wales, New Zealand, France again, South Africa, Italy, Portugal, Ireland, Argentina, England, Canada against Belgium, and USA against Spain. Cracker rugby coming up.
Great rugby, yeah.
You're in Spain. You could go watch USA against
There you
Spain.
go.
Maybe.
I was actually looking at the Irish match. It's probably about 4 hours from me. I was thinking of going up, but then
no, the Spanish are actually travelled to the American Legion Memorial Stadium for the game. Oh, class.
Is there a train to that? Is that near Westport? I'd pop out.
Very good. Right, shall we bring in Simon?
Yes, absolutely. Glad to see you're well, Tommy. Good on you.
I do want to say to you, though, for the subscribers of the podcast, we thank you so much to everybody who has subscribed to listen to the Change Room on a Tuesday. The feedback we've had from it has been really good. Dressing Room, it's been really good, and we really appreciate you coming on board. We're going to give away a prize to more people if they want to get involved in it. We've got to have 2 tickets for the Ireland-Australia in the Autumn Internationals. These are like hen's teeth. So if you would like to be in the draw to win 2 tickets for Ireland against Australia in autumn, we would like you to subscribe. Could be just for the month, could be for the year, whatever you want. And after the 3rd test, the podcast after the 3rd test, we will announce the winner. So the best of luck with that. Please do subscribe. The more the merrier. It's absolutely worth it. And I'm going to be in Australia next week, so I'll give you loads of feedback. What's going on behind the scenes?
There you go. Exactly what we'll enjoy.
And hopefully I'll not be feeling like shite then too.
Yeah, that's a great prize, and we're really grateful to anyone that subscribed already. So if you'd like to get involved and be in with the chance to win those tickets to see Australia, it'll be Joe Schmidt coming on the back of, or however this Lions tour goes. They will be like hen's teeth, like Tommy said. But we do appreciate everyone that has subscribed for the dressing room, Tommy. Good on
the dressing room. And coming up next week, we've obviously been putting a lot of interviews on the dressing room, but actually on this podcast next week, you've got a great guest for us.
Yeah, we've been really lucky. Probably grateful for him, not only to play under him, but a Lions icon, isn't he? It's Sir Ian McDeacon. we're going to be catching up with Geach and chatting about our time on the tour and just seeing how he is. Yeah, and just looking forward to first test. Yeah.
I'm actually so excited to see him. Yeah, so really looking forward to that. It's going to be amazing. Right, that's coming up next week. But now it's time ahead of Ireland against Portugal on tomorrow. It's going to be a cracker of a match. And who better to look after Portugal to try and drum them up for it, right? It's the former Munster coach as well, Simon Mannix. Take it away.
There he is, Simon
There we
Mannix.
have
How are
it.
you?
Mate, I'm very well, very well. Good to see you.
Yeah,
Is that
likewise.
still the old Munster jersey or Munster polo from back in the day, Simon, is it?
Yeah, that's the one. I managed to, 10 or 12 years ago, managed to leave with a couple still in my kit bag when I was showing the door. So,
You always looked best, Simon, in red and black, to be fair to you.
that's it. That's, I tell you what, incredible times they were. We're going to go back 12 years now.
Wow.
Amazing learning experience. I got said it somewhere else here a few weeks ago. I was talking about the toughest 2 years of my life in rugby was living in Munster.
Wow.
Found it incredibly challenging. I thought it was going to be one of those experiences. I've been coaching in France at Racing for about 6 years. And this opportunity came up when Rob Penny sort of approached me about it. And it was like, great, I'll go and coach in English. This will be a good gig. It's something I really look forward to doing, speaking English with the players, not having to bounce between French and things like that. And how wrong was I to think that just the language, in fact, it was a whole cultural learning that it probably took me a year to 18 months to get my head around it. And that time, it was almost game over by that stage for me. And it was so tough because I found it very insular. As a foreigner, was felt really on the outside. All these guys obviously growing up in the area, bar maybe, I think probably back in those days, maybe Felix Jones, Andrew Conway were probably the only guys really from the outside.
Yeah.
And so everyone had their family, everyone had their support networks and things. And it was tough. But in saying that, it was the most incredible 2 years of learning that I had in my whole rugby career. I'd probably throw in as a coach, I was very fortunate to spend quite a bit of time with the All Blacks over the years. And those were great, learning off your Wayne Smiths of the world and Hansons and Graham Henrys and observing how they did things. But this Munster thing was definitely ahead of its time, massively ahead of its time, I felt. And it certainly set me in very good stead when I went back to France at the end of it in 2014.
In what way do you mean ahead of its time? Because to be fair, there was the Munster way of playing rugby. Rob Penny came in, yourself as well, and tried to change that. And probably were ahead of your time in the style of rugby
100%.
that you were trying to get them to play.
100%.
And as a viewer watching on who enjoyed seeing Munster fall apart, and trying to get Donncha O'Callaghan, when you're working with the All Blacks and then you go down and you have to try and teach Donncha O'Callaghan to pass the ball. That's not going to, I can see how you find that a challenge, but why, in what way, give us a bit more info in that.
Well,
because
okay,
that's
so
really
I
interesting.
felt they were strength and conditioning, analysis work, attention to detail. The Irish globally, what I found was amazing to me was coming into a training session and we were presenting ABC in terms of a structure, a strategy. This is how we're going to play. We're looking at this system. Okay, that's ruck 1, there's ruck 2, there's ruck 3. But these guys wanted to know what happened on ruck 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then even you'd have somebody who wanted to know what happens on ruck 8. And we'd have these conversations amongst ourselves with Rob. We say, well, we're just playing rugby now.
Yeah.
But you didn't get that buy-in in this. I don't know, are we allowed to swear on this show or not?
Oh,
Go for it. Fire away.
But this bullshit.
I'm always calling Tommy a bollocks.
But this bullshit that the Irish are not natural rugby players. And this was sort of the stuff you'd hear 10, 12 years ago. And that it was where I had to be A, B, C, D. And players would often hide behind that in terms of defensive structures. Oh, I'm on third man. but the ball's
Yeah.
been passed. Then you shift.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no, I'm on third man. So there was a lot of that learning culturally
Mm.
that, and Rob was a massive driver on this. And I think probably there was an awful lot of misunderstanding as well, culturally from our sides coming in, because we didn't understand the Irish way of learning as well, which was different. But then you look at the detail though that went into the S&C, and I go back to, and Donald's would talk, remember very well Bryce Kavanagh, who was
Amazing.
incredible attention to detail,
Yeah.
absolutely incredible attention to detail. And I learnt everything about GPS and everything of him. And we'd sit down in Cork in his office here at 7 in the morning, and I might have ducked out back in those days for a coffee and a cigarette, and then come back in and just listen to him and learn off him.
Yeah.
But that detail was probably, that in-depth stuff was probably lost on even Munster at the time, and he's gone on to forge an incredible career across, a number of sports. But there was that. Then there was the analysis department, which I know George is still there today and still heads that up. And he had Elliot with him, Elliot Corcoran, who has since I've sort of managed to get him away out of Munster in 2014, took him to Bowe. And Elliot was brilliant with us in France, and now he's doing the same job in Portugal with me, which is great. So there was so much detail going on about Munster, because they felt that's where they would get their edge, was from that attention to detail, because they felt they weren't that natural rugby player, sort of X factor type player. But even though back in the day, you had the likes of a fit Simon Zebo, which great coming from me, looking how fit I look today. But Zeebs was never going to be accused of being the fittest player on the team. Shit, he could play rugby.
Yeah,
he was a guy you felt was that natural type of rugby player that in that system we were trying to develop could have really dominated. But you've got to, like all systems and all coaching, if the players don't believe it, they're not going to do it. And that's the bottom line on it.
That's a big learning for you too, I'd say, at the time.
It was huge for me as a coach, but for me to then go back, become manager in Bowe, and I was able to take back the simplest things that I could apply to Bowe, to France. And we were like, Elliot and I, and we had James Coughlin as well, who was able to drive that for us as a player, and he was outstanding in Bowe.
Yeah.
He was a great recruitment for us. So we had the three of us come with this Munster learnings, and they had a lot more experience than I did with it, obviously. And we walked the championship, absolutely walked it. And people, say, shit, they've got a training plan. Wow. And this is going back in the day, but there was no one in France who was showing up to training with the training plan, 6-minute warm up, 7-minute transition, whatever you, and now everyone's got them. But back in the day, was none of that.
Yeah.
So it was interesting times. Times.
Just on it, Simon, because part of me feels for you, because it was a critical point of not only Munster evolving, but I feel rugby evolved at that time. If you remember, we were still working out of 2 centres, which, like in modern professional sport, is just bananas. You know what I mean? But also, like, we would always push caring and giving a shit about each other. And you probably came in as the coach as well, and as a player, you couldn't really kind of grab you as well without looking like a complete kiss ass. You know what I mean? Who we having around for dinner. Yeah, so there was this kind of odd but I do remember that time, because for me as a player, going around the corner and working as a pack was fucking simple. You know what I mean? Just put the hard hat on. But you challenged us so much. And I'll never forget you and Rob pushing us to get better at those skills. And we played that wide with Ireland, and we were, with the good wins over England with it, but we never really understood it, if you know what I mean. And I think there was that learning in time to actually understand it. Like, I remember you spending time with even us front five, giving it what are you seeing in the backfield? And we were like, where's the fucking backfield? Like, who cares about that? You know what I mean? There's someone in front of me, but like, you're there, there's no one in the backfield. So why aren't you relaying that message? You've all this time on the edge to leave them know inside backfield's open, and I just think we went from honestly nearly just basics done perfectly to honestly, it felt like going from foundation maths to applied maths. You know, how you wanted us to play, and I, I'll be honest with you, it challenged the group so much that it actually scared the shit out of us because
Well, no one
I
likes
think you,
change, do they?
yeah, that's it.
No one likes
that's it.
change, and even I don't think we ever got the true not buy-in, but we didn't play as we could have done with the cattle we had, because we had some really good footballers there. Not as
Yeah.
good as Leinster, obviously, at the time.
Well,
Let's be honest, we weren't. But I felt that the system should have been a system such as that has got to be stronger than the individuals, you know. And if
Yeah.
everyone believes and buys in on that, then that system becomes so strong. And we've seen that in Ireland. You know, you guys have taken it on and taken it on. And I think Pat Lam did it with Connacht, didn't he?
Yeah.
You know, Pat Lam was given that little bit of time to grow to grow the game, and they were outstanding when they won the championship that year. Played in a very similar system. So
They
it's
sure did. I actually, it's interesting you say that. I did something with Sam Warburton the other day, and he was talking about Warren Gatland, and he spoke about when he was with the Lions trying to deal with the different countries, and you had the Welsh, for instance, who are very, they knew exactly what their job was. It was very simple, and they followed it to a T. He felt that the English, no matter how crap they are, they still believe that they were amazing. The Scottish, there was none of them on
It's
the
like a
tour, so it
joke
didn't
here.
matter.
Come on, get to Paddy Irishman,
But
Tommy, will you?
he said that the Irish were very intelligent, but would always be questioning. Oh, well, why are we doing that? Well, why should we do that? No, this is what we've always done. This is what and actually would be resistant to change. And you obviously came in with ideas, yourself and Rob, and the players, through intelligence, through curiosity, through wanting to know more, probably were resistant to it in that sense, because was we know best, and like, that's clear what you're saying, that, and I'd say that was extremely difficult.
Yeah, it was challenging, but you look back on it, on those 2 years, and while we didn't have that highest quality of player and everything else that Leinster obviously were rolling out at the time, we made 2 semi-finals.
Yeah.
People forget that the
Yeah.
Rob era, the Rob Penny era, we made 2 semi-finals, and I'll never forget. And I spoke about it the other day. It came up. I tell you, I was when we were down at the Lions camp, and Jonathan Sexton, I was having a chat to him before the game. A guy who I don't before the training, guy who I'd trained coached against, but never spoken to him. And
Isn't he sound, Simon? Isn't it, like, because the perception around Johnny is like, oh, be on your, like, oh, be careful.
Once you're
Eggshells
not
around
playing
Johnny.
against
What a
him.
sound fella.
yeah, and it was exactly that. And we were just talking about Paulie. And I was just talking about the influence, and I know you would, must have packed down about 5,000 bloody games.
I carried him. You're right. I carried that.
You carried him. Yeah, but you and I, none of us would ever forget the game he played against Harlequins and Harlequins.
He was
He
incredible.
won the game as close to winning a game by himself as
Yeah.
possibly you could do. It was just unbelievable, superhuman performance. And I remember my old man flew over for the game from New Zealand, came to watch, and even typical New Zealand. I don't know New Zealand rugby guy. They're all the same.
Yeah.
Their opinion's the only one that
We know
counts,
it.
and the rest of it. Yeah, that's it. There's only one way to do it. It's New Zealand way. But even he came off. He goes, shit. I see what you mean.
Yeah.
This guy's fucking good. And he was just
incredible.
unbelievable that day. And we qualified last that year, went to Harlequins, beat them there, and then went to Montpellier and lost to Clermont-Ferrand in a really tight game of rugby. And Clermont were brutal back in those days. You'll remember how good they were.
Yeah.
But again, were we playing the system as we wanted to? No, because we had a number 10 who felt comfortable doing some things, would try it a little bit, didn't really believe in 100%, but we were better backing that number 10 at the time who had a pretty good career as a player and things like that. And he's
Pretty good.
done an all right job as a coach as well.
He's not doing too bad, is he? Of course, over in France at the moment too. Listen, let's move on. You mentioned there the Lions. you're up against them. Portugal played a warm-up game against the Lions over in the Algarve. I want to talk, obviously, Ireland against Portugal coming up as well. So, like, how was that as an experience? Getting to train with the
Incredible honour,
Lions? And,
firstly.
yeah,
Had to educate the players about who the Lions were,
yeah.
Well,
and
Wow.
that's frightening
yeah,
for us
that is.
Anglo-Saxons. It's frightening. There are few guys, and they are really, just to give you a little bit of insight into the rugby community in Portugal, the players are very highly educated. We've got medical students, engineers, sort of guys who are almost astronauts and things like that. I don't know. These guys are high-end students.
Tommy could play for you. He's a
Yeah.
pilot, but he's,
Thank you.
But yeah,
Engineer,
I'm sure we've
you
got one
name it.
kicking around somewhere. But so these guys,
Obrigada. That's a bit of Portuguese for you as well.
yeah,
There
that's
you
about
go.
my lot as well, because their English is better than mine. So the coaching,
No way.
I thought, this is going to be great. I'm going to learn a third language here,
Mm.
even though I struggle with French and English. There's just do everything in English. Their English is
Wow.
perfect.
Class.
So highly educated guys, but had to really try and show this is the history of the Lions, and we'd go back and you have a few of the old punch ups there, and some of the great iconic Lions moments to see, guys, what you've been invited to take part in is just an incredible honor. And we only had our B team / because all the French guys, so I'm trying to convince them,
Of course.
come down. We're going to have 3 days of training before to get ready,
Yeah.
just to get our ducks in a line, and then we go down there and just see what happens.
Okay.
Oh no, I'm on holiday. No, I need a break. Have to have my 4 weeks off. And you're going in my mind, I'm going, guys, this is the fucking Lions here.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
then we got a group together, very young guys, motivated, drive into the setting down there at the campus, and just go, wow. And this is the highest end of professional sport that you're ever going to see. Yeah, in terms of rugby, it is just on steroids down there. There's not one drone to film training. There's about 4. There's about 40 guys running around doing all sorts of things. I think they're a total tour party of about 90 odd.
That's right.
And it is just a machine. And I was lucky enough to go to the All Blacks to a couple of sessions during the World Cup here in 23. And yeah, an All Black session's always impressive in terms of the organization, the flow, how it just bounces in and out. And wow, this was high end stuff. Incredible experience. The Lions players, and this is the best thing of it, were just unbelievable. Took the time out with the guys, chatted with them afterwards. Hey, you might want to try this. The
Oh, wow.
props got together, had chats, hookers chatting, Elliot Daly talking with guys about some work in the backfield.
Wow.
Even a couple of the goal kickers, Marcus Smith had a quick word with them. Johnny Sexton had a couple of pointers. It was just, an experience that they'll never repeat it in their rugby careers. So we became fans that day. I've got to say, we became fans.
Wow.
And obviously disappointed to see it. I haven't seen the game on Friday night, but disappointed to see the result. But probably a good result for them. Getting on the plane with that burning in the back of their mind, I would suggest.
You've given me goosebumps there chatting about that, because the Lions is the pinnacle for us, Northern Hemisphere.
Totally.
But to hear that the ethos is the same, to give back, to help out, like, is that something you're finding frustrating, Simon? We're seeing, from my view, a gulf between tier 1 and tier 2. And should we not be looking at pulling up and helping out, you know what I mean, the other nations that we're going to need when it comes to World Cups?
I think, the tier 2 nations, or tier 2, or we call them development nations now. We're developing, which we like.
Okay.
It's such a tricky one. Access to players is everyone. The first thing anyone will talk about is access to your players, because generally you'll have 50% of your squad will be playing in France.
Wow.
It's the only competition that's viable today that can, sustain and pay. What have they got? 30 professional teams full time, then top 14 Pro 2, and then down to National 1.
Mess.
We have another 12. They'll be all full-time pros. Down to National 2, you'll have 24 teams. They'll probably be part-time. So everyone's getting money down to Division. I'm going down to Division 5 and 6. And you
Wow.
will have guys in these developing nations who are playing down in Division 4 and 5, could easily play up in Pro 2,
Yeah.
but just don't get the opportunities. It's just playing numbers, whether they're locally qualified as well. So all these things come into it. So for us to get access to the players, and you're having to horse trade during the, I'll call it the Six Nations B, the Rugby European Championship played during February and March. So, okay, let them come for this game. We're playing, World Cup qualifier. We have to win against Germany. Then I'll send him back to you guys the next week, and he won't come for the trip to Romania. And this is just, otherwise,
Wow.
you just don't. There's no player release, and it's something that World Rugby will address next year, because it's going to go, I think, to the Nations Cup. So with this 2-tier tournament, that release of players has got to be dealt with. But it is what it is, and we're all across the board the same thing. I was with Richard Cockrell recently, who's coaching Georgia and doing a fantastic job there, with a lot more funding than anybody else in terms of the developing nations, and doing a great job though. And they've got the same problem. They can't get released. They must have 50 props kicking around in the top flight, and not just props, because they're developing across the board as great rugby players, Georgia. But
listen, you see it
they
even with
can't
the
get access to
Lions.
them.
The Lions
Yeah.
can't get Kinghorn because he's obviously with Toulouse at this end of the season in France too. Listen, I need to talk to you about Ireland then. I mean, for the Irish opportunity, you said about the Lions. It's been played in Lisbon, not the Algarve. So I thought it'd be in the back of someone like Dennis O'Brien's back garden, but obviously not. We moved up to Lisbon. Again, another great opportunity for these young players, this young up and coming squad in Portugal, to play a team like Ireland.
Yeah, it's an outstanding opportunity, but it's one that's, we can't keep trying to punch above our weight in these one-off games and things like that. We need consistency in preparation, and that will lead to consistency in performance. And we played last year. We went down. We played Namibia in Namibia, which was, that's where our level is at. We can't bullshit it. That's what, and we had a good win there. That was great. And then we went to play South Africa in Bloemfontein. Played the South African B team and lost 61-21. We tried really hard. We were honourable in defeat, but you're just up against monsters.
Yeah.
And then we played Scotland and Murrayfield in front of 60,000, which you guys know is just an incredible occasion, the rugby at Murrayfield. And we played, a mix between their A and B team. I think we lost. It was a 30-odd point difference again. We scored 3 tries. So it was probably 50-odd or 60-21 again. Is that helpful? The occasion, the participation, everything else, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. But we've got to be playing in competition, and we've got to be testing ourselves against teams where we're realistic about what we can do. And we are, and when I took over the job a year ago, falsely, I believed that we were in like a performance phase, and you're just, okay, this is all about performance, when in fact it was such a black hole after the World Cup that of players and depth of players and just not there, that you discover and you realize, no, we're in a total development phase. And so we have to change the way we coach. We have to change the way we analyze things, and we've got to change our whole approach now. So we've taken this time to press the reset button. Next 12 months is all about developing physically, mentally, tactically, technically. And then we'll try and build 18 months out to get into that performance phase. And I've lost you. Sorry, guys, I lost you there.
You're okay. Don't worry.
Yeah, so it's about, with 12 months is massive development work, looking at, different things. How do we get better? How do we get our players in Lisbon and players in Portugal? How do we make them better? Because we control them. We do not control the players in France, and that's 50% of our squad. So it's challenging. It is so challenging, but it's going to be a great occasion, because we know Ireland are going to be minus 12, 13, the frontliners, but we know that the second team is going to be really well coached. It's going to be really well organised, and like any Irish team, you know that there's going to be an awful lot of passion about it when they're playing for that shirt, as there is with the Portuguese, extremely proud. And we're hoping that we can elevate ourselves to be at the level. We'll see how Ireland obviously go against Georgia, because I think that's going to be that
It's
could
going to be
be
a cracker of a match. Yeah.
a frightening one for them. And knowing, obviously, I'm be very closely monitoring what's going on with Georgia and how they go. They're going to be extremely tough nut to crack, and they're openly talking, quarterfinals in the next World Cup is their goal. So they'll be wanting to put a marker down for sure. So
they could beat us to a semi-final.
Yeah, we've been a marker of a semi-final and a final for years. It doesn't always happen.
I love the way that Georgia and ourselves have the same goals at World Cup: go to a quarter-final and head home. Simon, just on that though, you do have reference points. You do get to train. You train an awful lot with your squad. How helpful has that been for just your group now to know that you can give them a blood nose, if you know what I mean? You can bring it in this game.
Yeah, it's massively, it is helpful to know that. So I'll be honest with you. When we went to South Africa and they came out of the tunnel for the warm up, and you stood on the field with them, when you see them all together, you see them in one-offs or twos and in France and things in the top 14. Well, they're all together, so fucking big,
massive, man.
And that Andre Oosterhuizen goes and warms up with the backs, and I'm going, what the hell oh shit, is he that big? And it was like,
It's wild.
And so when I spoke to the guys, I first spoke to a bit of a leadership group when I first went down. I said, are you not scared about running out in Bloemfontein? Because I am, and I'm sat up in the coach's box. I'm scared for you. Yeah, physically. Yeah, you're looking at guys here, as I say, who are just, be on the Zoom calls and, not lifting weights and whatever else. And no, we're right. Oh, bloody hell. But no, so there is that there's what has been good, and we've taken away that unknown. That World Cup experience takes away that unknown. That's for sure. Yeah. But what we can't do, and none of these developing nations we can do, is become just synonymous with a one-off performance at a World Cup and then 4 years of, whatever happens in between doesn't matter. We've got to build and build and build to something that we can sustain
And opportunities like those players to have seen the Lions, to be playing against Ireland, to see these sort of levels, as you say, might not be great competitively, but at least it will help maybe bring more people into the game to get involved in it. Listen, we wish you all the very best, Simon. Honestly, thanks so much for talking to us. It's really interesting, actually, to hear about what it's like on the ground over in Portugal. I'm sure we're only scratching the surface of it, but even your time back in Munster as well. And we wish you all the very best against Ireland. It's going to be, I reckon you're going to be able to give them a hell of a game.
Well, I hope so, mate. I really appreciate the chat. And I heard a whisper that even Macca might be making the trip down to Lisbon. So,
God help you.
So, yeah.
Simon, can I jump in as well and say thanks? Honestly, you had faith in us. Yourself and Rob Henny had faith in us when we probably didn't even have it in ourselves. Your balls to try to push us on to evolve and get better was incredible, and I wish we backed ourselves as much as you backed us at that time. And it's no surprise that you're still ripping up trees where you are now, and you look at Rob, you know what I mean, winning Super Rugby. We were blessed to be around people like you.
Delighted for him. Yeah, I appreciate those words, Donners, and I think we can all look back and say we all learnt so much from those 2 years, good and bad, but incredible learnings for all of us.
No, we were grateful to be around you, my man. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Simon. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Well, that was interesting.
He doesn't pull any punches, does
No.
he? I was there, geez, I should have definitely had him around for more cups of tea when he was in Cork.
We're going to have to discuss that again. We'll come around to that because that could take a good half hour to go through that chat. But
interesting, though, really interesting. And at a pivotal time, honestly, Tommy, I remember it. They were just forward thinking and we weren't. You know what I mean? And can I be harsh? I personally, myself, I knew I hadn't the skill set to do what they required.
Yeah.
And they believed in me that I could, and I nearly doubted myself, So it's worth chat about at some
But
other
maybe
point.
something on them to kind of think, listen, just because this is your vision for it, sometimes you don't have all the tools there to do it. And
Well,
you have to meet halfway.
Well, it's funny that he said it straight away. Remember, he was there. Yeah, we quickly copped on that you shouldn't leave the winger or the second row on the edge and put him in there and put the hooker out. I was there. For fuck's sake, why didn't you say that when I was out in
Man, I
Thomond Park?
used to have the popcorn out to see you haired after crossfield kicks.
Yeah,
I
honestly,
loved it.
Tommy, you know I love Thomond Park. Genuinely, it's one of the greatest places I've ever been. But when we were playing that wide game plan, you should have heard the abuse I got on the touchline. Oh, Callan, will you get in around the forwards, you windy? It was non-stop the whole time. I was like, "Oh, I'm doing what I'm told."
The legs
Brilliant.
strapped straight down the wall. Like, I always wondered what would happen if the actual ball came to you. Would you, your
Oh, there
Gaelic
was
football
one-
skills to come out?
No, there was one genuinely, and you know it, but I hadn't the pace to get on you. You know what I mean? I hadn't the pace to kind of get body open
Mhm.
to receive the ball. I could
Yeah.
run to the line, and then I was to turn.
Very good.
Ah,
Listen, good
brilliant.
one to come on again. Of course, that big match tomorrow as well. So
Yeah.
thank you to Simon for that. Loads to discuss. Donncha Callahan, I'm going back to bed.
Yeah,
You go
good
back
on
and
you,
enjoy the
Tommy.
sunshine.
Well done. To be fair, you put in a shift there. Good on you. No, but
Fair
thanks
play
so
to you.
much. Anyone that is subscribing to the dressing room, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Have a brilliant weekend. Come on the lines. Play a bit of rugby, lads, will you?
And get on, subscribe. You could win those tickets. See you later.
Yes.